Hey, this is Fred from North 40 Fly Shop in Great Falls, Montana, bringing you a fly that we are going to be tying on the new 60-degree micro jig shanks from Spawn Fly Fish. This is the Flash N Truder, so we'll get busy. All right, so starting out, got our jig shank here. This is a little guy, 15 millimeters, and I'm going to start out with a thread base, just using some black 140. Get that laid down. Then for our trailer, we're going to use Senyo's intruder wire. And I've got one pre-looped here on a owner no escape hook. So what I'm going to do is tie this in right on the shank. I want about an inch of drop. So I like to just get my wire placement, and then I'm just going to draw it down and then kind of wrap forward, get a little bit of tension on there, and then just move that until my wire ends are right at the head of the fly. And we'll secure it down all the way. There isn't a lot of room to work with on this shank, so we definitely want to make sure this wire gets glued. So I'm going to grab some Zap-A-Gap, glue that wire down after I get my dumbbell eyes on here. I usually like to go around 6 or 8 times in each direction. Get those eyes placed right where I want them, and then I'm going to figure 8, or actually initially just circle them about 10 times, build up a little thread, then we'll figure 8 over the top, and you can do this a whole bunch of times, 15, 20 times. Really want to get some good thread pressure on there. And then when that's all said and done, I'm going to Zap-A-Gap glue this before I begin tying the fly. That takes a little while to dry, so I've got another shank here that's already prepped and dried and ready to go, so we're just going to move this one aside and pop this one in and continue tying. So now that we've got our platform, our first material is going to be some copper flash, or this is Kreelex. Get my thread back on. Going to select a small bunch here. This is going to get doubled over my thread, so I just want to grab half the volume that I want to use for my tail. And then I'm going to wrap that right around my thread, bring it down to the hook, and tie it right into the end. Then lengthwise, I'm going to run this, about a ½ inch past my hook. Cut her off. As this is tied in, it's essentially going to ride underneath the hook. Hook's going to be right above it. Then we're going to flip over and we're going to add some UV polar chenille brown. Going to palmer this. Get about 4 wraps there. I always like to give it a good little tug before I tie it off, make sure it's well seated. A couple of securing wraps. As I was tying that off, a couple of those fibers got trapped, so I'm just going to come through here and just brush those out. That looks a little better. Then we're going to build a little more of a collar with some Canadian brown Arizona semi-seal. So for that, I'm going to make a dubbing loop. grab a little clump about 1.5 inches long, twist that up in my thread. And then we're just going to wrap that right behind the eyes. This is going to add just a little stiffer shoulder to the fly. There we go. We can brush that out when we're done. So then we're going to layer on a little bit of red for a throat. This is going to be on the bottom. Just a small little piece. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that right around the shank, fold it over the gap between the eyes, and then just wrap a circle right around between the eyes and the tie-off point there. And then we're going to trim that about the length of where the polar fibers end, a little over 1 inch maybe. Now we're going to flip this over and we're going to finish off the top with some black. And I'm just going to wrap this right around the shank. Bring my thread over the top. I'm just going to whip finish right there. And then we're going to trim this length right to about where the bend of the hook is. So here we have the Flash N Truder. Got the eye in the vise there so you can see it a little better. Got some materials there, lift up that wing, top and bottom. It's got great movement through the water. Good color scheme. Hopefully you can tie this fly and have some success. It's been a good one for me. If you need the materials to tie this fly, you can check us out at north40flashshop.com or come into any of our stores. Tight lines.